All right, well, guys, hello. I'm back. And oh my God, I needed a break. And that is why you haven't seen me for a few days, or I should say a week. The last chapter was me and my mom, or I should say my mom and I. And you are probably wondering, how did I get her to talk? Well, I basically said to her, you heard about the one chapter where I was talking to her and I discreetly videoed her or I taped her. And you guys remember how she was saying to me, she doesn't want me to share my life. Why are you telling everybody? So basically, I thought if I include her, maybe she could understand that this is not something that I'm doing against her, but it's something that I'm doing to heal everybody, like her too, not just myself. So you guys, was that crazy? Like, I learned things about myself that day, that moment, sitting with her. I didn't even know she lived in Germany. I did not know that with her first husband, that he put her through that type of, like, put her away in a school and a boarding school. Like, you get married to someone, and I didn't know that he was like 30 years older than her. So I think having her come on probably like, every 3 or 4 episodes, it won't be a bad idea. Or I should say chapters. I think it'd be a good idea that I'll tell some stories, and then bring her on, and then she can tell her stories, and then we kind of put it together. I giggle only because I can giggle about it now. It's always made me sad if I thought about it, but now it makes me laugh because I'm like, I've heard every story. She changes every story. So a lot of people who wrote and said that she was, a character and she's really a good person down deep inside, and her soul, I want you to know, like, her deep soul is good. It's just she wasn't a good mom. Plain and simple. She just wasn't a good mom. And I can't say that to her because it breaks her heart. And I'm sure if you're struggling with a parent, you can't go up to that parent and say you're not a good parent. You just can't tell them that. Even though you have evidence against them that they're not, because you're the evidence, you're the proof that they, you still can't tell them that. So let's talk about a few things she said that really bothered me. One, she said, oh, you wanted to marry the guy. I never wanted to marry the guy. So let's go back a little bit so I can explain that to you. So I started dating guys about 13. It's the truth. I actually started dating a guy around 13 who was a Persian guy, came from a really wealthy family. I lied to him and said I was 16. And so I was kind of friends with him. I basically was thinking to myself, okay, you're a Persian girl. Your mom has always said to you, I know some of the Persian people are going to get mad at me. Once again, let me go back and rephrase that. My Persian family said, not all Persian families, because I know many Iranians that would never allow their child to get married at 16 years old. Iranian families are all different, just like Americans or other cultures. So once again, I want to remind you, this is about me, my life, my family, not against any Persian culture, Iranians, or Muslim, or Islam. This has nothing to do with any of that. Okay, so let's go back. So basically, I thought if I could find the Persian guy myself, because she was trying to marry me off to my cousins. You guys, she was. So I don't want to talk against my biological father's side of the family. I don't want to talk negative about them. So I'm sorry if one of you see this and you get upset, but I don't want to marry my cousin because my father's side, they all kind of married each other. I don't know exactly, and like, once again, like my mom is from Iran and my dad is from Iran. They are completely different people. So I'm not saying Iranian families marry their cousins. They don't. I haven't really heard that. But my father, my biological father's side of the family was like that. For instance, my aunt married her cousin. And then they had children. So it's TMI. I don't want to talk rudely against that culture of thinking, but let's just say it didn't really work out that well. When you see the kids and how they all turned out, there was a lot of damage in the brain and emotion. So I can't believe my mom wanted to marry me off in that family too, just like kind of follow their tradition. So she was trying to marry me off to cousins, like guys that they were my cousins. Then she was like, oh, no, don't worry. This is how our culture is. Once again, it's not her culture, but in her little mind. So do you get what I'm saying? Like, I needed to find my own guys. So I thought, like, at 13, if I can find my own Persian guy that I like, maybe I can bring him home to her and I won't be forced to marry someone I don't want to be married to. Because obviously, you just heard it from her mouth. She was forced to get married to her first husband, who was 30 years older than her. So what really I don't get is that my mother's side of the family were the most educated family, but I don't think my ancestors did that kind of stuff. I think my grandfather must have been following a tradition that, I don't know. I just don't know how they were thinking. Because if I say too much, then they're going to think I'm judging the culture. I'm not. Like I said, I have a lot of Iranian friends and families that didn't do what we did. So anyway, whatever. So yeah, let's go back to why I started dating so young. I dated this guy, 13. He was Persian. I thought perfect. And then his family found out about me, and then they were like, yay, we want her. But I lied. I said I was 16. I was really 13. So they actually came to my mom when I was 13 years old. They were a Persian family. I don't want to say his name. They lived in Bel Air. They had a lot of money. And I didn't even care about that. But I knew my family would be like, good family. They have money, all that stuff. Power, money, family. That's how they think. My Persian family thinks. My mom, if like you come from a family that has money, oh, they're very good people. Or if you're like, your family are like doctors and, like you're respectable, but you're not a good person. But because you come from that family, you're a good person. Does that make sense? She never gets to know you for who you are. It's just like you come from that, then you're good. So, okay. So I met that guy. The family came to ask for my hand in marriage. And then I had to tell the truth. I was 13. Good for that Persian family. I applaud you. You said no. So they went away. So when I turned about 15, I found that guy again, and then the family came back. And long story short, I changed from 13 to 15. How does someone grow up so quickly? Okay, so let's talk about all the things my mom said. Oh, you were such a bad child. Was I born bad? Or did I turn bad? So why did I turn bad, and why did I end up meeting this guy? And what happened to me from the moment my dad went to jail? Because remember now, I was being controlled by a dictator. I couldn't do anything. The minute he went to jail, can you imagine? Like, it's like, woohoo, you got your freedom back. So in a way, I became the ruler of the house. Because my mom, she's kind of weak. I don't want to say that to her in front of her, but she's gullible and she's easy to kind of work with and talk to. So when we did, I told you the whole story about he goes to jail. I don't know if I told you guys that big home that we lived in when he went to jail. Let me just tell you what happened to that home. So he goes to jail, and now my mom is stuck with this home. I want to go back there and tell you what happened. And he goes to jail for a while, and yes, he did come out from posting a bail for him and all that stuff. But before they gave him a bail, he was in jail for a while. So my mom had no idea how to run this business at all. So all the money that she had was controlled under him. So now who's going to pay all the bills? And then when he got arrested, they froze all her accounts. So here's my mom living in a home with me, a maid, her biological son, my brother, and Payam, the brother that came, that was his biological son that lived with us. So now we all live in this house, and we have no money. I mean, basically, my mom had to go back to her family again and ask for money. Thank God my grandfather and grandmother were still alive. They were able to help her, because I don't know what she would have done, which basically we lived in that house until they threw us out. Basically, I remember that. There was no water at some point. I remember no electricity. Like, think of wealth just collapsing. And then now we're in Glendale, California, living in a little apartment. It was like dramatic change, which, by the way, I want you to know, I was happier in our little apartment for a very short time with my mom. Because, of course, my mom was able to find friends again and parties and all the old. That's another thing I want you guys to know. Like, the bad friends that my father, all the mob type of people, the gangs, those families stayed friends with my mom. So my mom, even though my dad went to jail, she stayed in that. It's like staying in a gang. She stayed. We were still being watched over. We had rival mafia people coming. I remember one guy that was after us for a year. He wanted money from my dad. My dad was in jail, but they don't care. They don't care. Like, he would come stand behind our window and put his face. You guys, it was some scary stuff that happened to us. When he was in jail and we were still in that big house, we were being watched by the FBI. I would be on the phone with friends, and the guy would be like, oh, it's just the daughter. Like, they listened and followed us for at least 5 months, because they didn't give him a bail for like 3 or 4 months. So for that amount of time, they were watching my mom and all the other people. And so we knew they were watching us, but it was spooky. It was spooky being watched. And then all the weird people that were coming by and dropping off random things to my mom, like money, and like people coming and like telling me, don't worry, we have your back. And still today, I'm connected to these people. So I just want you to know, like, I have to be careful how I talk and what I say. So, I'm not exposing anybody. They're okay with me talking, if that makes sense. So you got to remember, my mom stayed in that. So my mom is still in a gang. That's basically what I can tell you. She's still with that circle of people. I pulled myself out. I can go in it and come back out, if that makes sense. So that type of mentality turned my mind into a gangster, basically. I only knew how to hustle. I was doing a lot of illegal stuff. Not drug dealing, a little bit. A lot of illegal stuff, just like financial illegal stuff that I figured out how to do. I don't want to talk about it. It's really bad. It's embarrassing, and nothing I'm proud of. But let's just say I could have been one of those girls like on America's Most Wanted because I was involved in a big crime. And that came later. But before I got involved with a bigger gang, I got involved with street gangs. So when I moved to Glendale, I think I told you guys this. We lived in a small apartment, and my mom didn't really know the town. So the school I ended up in was a school that was just gangs. It was like Crips and Bloods back then. Crips and Bloods, but it was like, there was all types of gangs. And I was with the Mexican gangs. And I think I told you why. I was very happy being around the Mexican families. I still love Mexican families for how they are for each other. They're like, I don't know if you guys know this, and I don't remember exactly what it's called, but I want to share this with you. So let's say, and I'm not being discriminating when I say Mexican family because it's a Mexican tradition. I don't know if it is anymore, but growing up it was. For instance, they didn't have a lot of money compared to what I had. I was embarrassed for what I had. But remember now, our money was going, so I was okay being with people who didn't have the money. So being around these people, I started to see like how much they loved each other. For instance, let's say one of the brothers needed a car. They don't have $4,000. Well, the family gets together and it's like they pick a different family member, let's say every 3 months, and they put their money together. So like, let's say in this month, everybody's gonna put $500 in a bucket from different families because they're gonna buy so-and-so a car. And so I loved that family part of like, the moms are there, they're cooking. My friends always had their hair braided. I don't know, just things that I wanted. So I either had my Mexican family or I had family on TV. I didn't have my own family because my own family was so screwed up. We didn't do family dinners. We did 55 people at our dinner. So I joined a gang when I was 13. And I'm not going to really talk about the gang because they were good to me. I don't really have a lot of negative things to say about gang members because I didn't have, violence and things like that exist. I don't have anything negative to say. It didn't hurt me. If anything, I might have been good being in that gang. So how does it work when you're in a gang at 13 and 14? You're not using guns, right? You're fighting. You have, like back in those days, we tagged. We did bad things too. But then it opened up the door for me to think, hey, I want to go into bigger gangs. Like I want to know why my stepdad felt so powerful. And that was all I knew. So the guy I get married to, poor guy, he comes in between me getting out of a gang. So from 13 years old until about 16, I was full on in a gang, like full on doing things that we don't want to talk about. So when my mom says to you, I was a really bad kid, I was. I'm not trying to say I was good. I would sneak them in my house. We would break into people's homes. We would steal cars. I did all the bad things. I was fearless. I'm still fearless, which I don't like about myself. I was fearless. And that fearless personality is what gang members are attracted to. And I was real. So it opened up the doors because I wanted more, because that's how my corrupted mind thought. So when I got bored of this like street fighting and all that stuff, I thought like, hey, I'm a leader, so I want to know more. And so I started to figure out ways how to scam businesses and like my thing went up a little higher. And then I started to meet bigger people that were like gang members, but bigger, like I guess you would call them mafia too, because I don't really know what they're called. Just bad people, bad circles. And this bad circle, I couldn't get out of it. So luckily, I thought, I need to get out of this city. So how am I going to get myself out of this? Because the next things that they wanted from me were things I wasn't willing to do, because remember that I've always had God in me. So it stopped me from doing those bad things that I was about to do. I was next level. And then I met him. I met him because I hung out with 20-year-old girls, remember? And I was at their home. So one night, I was walking across the street to the 20-year-old girl's boyfriend's house, and that's how I met the guy I got married to. He was driving by in a really nice car. He stopped, and he was like, hey, and I was like, hey. And I was 15, and he was driving a really nice car. Back in the days, a black Toyota Supra, tinted windows. I just remember being like, whoa. Being a gang member, I remember those were good cars. So I talked to him, and he flirted. He told me I was beautiful, and he had a really nice car. And immature me said, hey, whoa, Kona. I said, hey, I'm going here, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, hey, I live across the street. So I said, I'll see you again tomorrow or something. I said, I always go across the street around 6 o'clock because I have dinner with my friend's boyfriend across the street. So the next day comes, I'm going across the street. There he is again. This time he parks his car, gets out, starts talking to me. He says, how old are you? I said, I'm 20. And he was like, no, you're not. So I told him I was 15. And he said he was 24. But I said, I was 15. He was 23. And he said, oh, I think I might have lied to him the first few times. Then I finally admitted it to him. Then he told me he was really into young girls. What's wrong with me? Why didn't I get that? So sorry guys, that's my dogs. Long story short, I basically had to find a guy myself before my mom either tried to marry me off to a cousin or to some old man. So I figured 24 is good. 23, 24 is good. So I start dating him, kind of, where I sneak into his house. And you guys know that I hang out with him and things happen. Yes, I have sex with him. And he's my very first. I still need to be a virgin to get married, remember that? So I thought if I could keep him now, I can get out of my house. I did not know that my mom was gonna force me to have this full-on wedding because remember, she only cares what people think. So as long as people know her 16-year-old daughter is married and having sex, that's good enough. Get it? It's really about sex. To think about it. What else is it about? Family, my good family. No, you should be ashamed of yourself to let a 16-year-old to get married to a 24-year-old and then have a party and invite 500 people and invite every Persian entertainer that was at your house when you were little and you called them uncles and they loved you. And yeah, my child molester, one of them was there. Yeah. Thank God. Thank you, God, that at least I could say back in my days, the Persian entertainment industry really did not have the predators that you see now. It's changed now. But thank God I could say that to you guys. I grew up with them. I grew up in the Persian TV, Persian entertainment. Abby, Shahrukh, Mortaza, they're all amazing. Just good people. So I have to say that. Like I came from, having great memories. But at my wedding, they're there, they're singing. I'm that little girl that used to call them uncle. So how is that possible that they were all okay with it? So obviously, it's gotta be some sort of Iranian culture or Like, or maybe they thought I was 18. I mean, I don't know. They had to have thought, like, what's going on? Like, what are we here for? But anyway, so here's the funny thing. I'm getting married. My biological dad's family is at my wedding. My biological dad comes to this wedding, but my stepdad, who's in jail, pays for all of it. Well, he didn't really have to pay for it. Everything was pretty much given to him for free. Cabaret Tehran is still open. I got married there. All the singers most likely came for free. Remember that my dad started Persian TV here, so they all basically owed him. That's how they saw it. And he's that guy that would go to the cabarets and like they would stop and they would come with a bottle of champagne and pop it for the singer. And then they would say like, so-and-so just bought you a, and they would pay, like my dad would pay like $3,000, $4,000 just for that one moment. So, you know, like he did all that kind of stuff. So they kind of owed it to him. So that's how I got married. It's so weird, right? Isn't that weird, you guys? When I think back, my biological dad was here getting married. I didn't even know my biological dad. The last time I saw you, you were having sex with my 13-year-old friend. Like, how disgusting is all that? Oh, you guys, when my biological dad came, oh, you feel bad for me. When my biological dad came from Iran for my wedding, he stayed with my mom at our house. You guys, this is called the naked truth of Netta. I went shopping with the guy I'm getting married to, who was my boyfriend. I go shopping with him. We get home a little early. I open the door. You guys, what do you think I saw? Yeah. Yep. I saw my mom and dad together, like a quick, like, and I was like, I just remember turning around, walking out of the house and leaving. Oh my God. Trauma. It was like crazy. So it's just like crazy. Then I say to my mom, like, I don't really want to have a wedding. You know, I don't want to have a wedding. The whole point, you guys, was I just wanted to say, he's my boyfriend and I'll marry him when I'm older. Like, I was trying to find a way that my mom will let me date him so I can get the heck out of the house. You guys, I needed out of this house. This is like a party house. Like, it got to the point, this party house got to the point where weird people started coming back again. And now I'm older, and remember, she's still hanging out with those weird friends. Now weirder, it gets weirder and weirder. So that means my dad is in jail, but all the weird people are back. I gotta get out of here. You guys, one morning I woke up, my bedroom had 2 beds. And I just never forget, I open my eyes and I look and there's someone sleeping in my bedroom. I just had 2 beds because I had friends who would stay over. A woman is sleeping in my bed with a bottle of like Smirnoff vodka, like that big, next to her with a glass, like we're in the hospital or something, right? I'm not kidding you. I look over it and I was like, oh my God, that's my mom's friend. What is she doing here? Well, she stayed. And she would wake up every morning to vodka, drink all day vodka. And all of a sudden my mom said, oh, you know, she needed a place to stay. So here you are, a teenager, and now you have a woman who's sleeping next to you with a bottle of vodka every day and every night. I have no more freedom, no privacy, nothing. So, yeah. So that's when she says, I wanted to get married. I didn't want to get married. I was forced by her. She basically said, you either get married or you have to break up. And basically, if I broke up, that means I have to go back to that life. And I don't want to go back to that life because you know what that life means. I will end up with one of those people that she wants me to end up with. People that she still hangs out with, you guys. People I don't want to be around. So That's what happens. So yeah, then we're forced to get married. And now this becomes like this party for my mom. Do you know 6 months before I got married, my mom had parties. I don't even remember my bridal shower because it was her bridal shower. She had a party. She had parties. And he would go out with them all the time. And then I finally got tired of it. I was like, hey, are you gonna marry me? Like, after I got married to him, it was ridiculous. We moved out of the house and I'm living now in an apartment with him. It was crazy. I was still in high school. And my mom is waking me up on the answering machine saying like, hey, Netta, go to school. So just know I've been on my own. Basically, I've been on my own since I was 10. And then if you think about it, I've been on my own since I was born. So the guy I'm married to now is more like a roommate, if you think about it. Yes, I mean, obviously we had a relationship and we were into each other. People wanted to know, like, was he abusive? He was not abusive, but he did do sexual things to me and opened my mind up to things that I shouldn't have known at that age. I don't think you should know at that age. You should still be a little kid at 15, 16. I know these days that's like being 30, but back in those days, my friends weren't doing that kind of stuff. Well, some of them were. Okay, but anyway, whatever. I was. I also started to become involved in gambling, which you guys know. I was going to casinos a lot. And I know in one of these chapters, I told you guys about being in casinos and how my stepdad found out and how the pit boss came and told me I had to leave. They didn't arrest me. You know, let me tell you one thing about me. Back in the days when I was young, anywhere I walked in, if they knew who my father was, I was respected. Even now, there are a lot of people that ask me if I'm okay, of his friends. Yeah, they ask me a lot of things. Like, they want to know if people mess with me, like things like that. I'm a really good person in my heart, and I never go out for revenge. I can't wait to talk to you more about me, life today. So being a person that was in gangs and then in casinos, because this guy really was corrupted in his mind. He was really into young kids. I don't know if I told you this, but the guy I got married to, later on in my 30s, I found out, I even went to his court case because I wanted to really see it for myself, that he was actually in trouble for child pornography and also dating minors. So I don't even know what videos he has of me or pictures. I don't know. That's another thing about that guy. So I'm sure my stories are crazy to you guys. I'm ADD talking. So ask me questions if I forget anything. I'm just trying to give you an idea, so we can get past 13 and 14. Get in the idea that I get married and I'm now involved still in gangs and drugs. And I really wasn't a druggie, but I started at that point to look for things that could take me away from my thoughts. Since I wasn't really into drugs because I saw what it did to my dad, I started to have a criminal mind. And I also took my anger out on people by physical. So I was that person that was driving in the car and you did something wrong. Well, guess what? You're going to end up fighting me because I will be in your face. So that's something I'm going to talk to you guys about because I went through that for years. I mean, until just 4 or 5 years ago, I almost beat up someone in Malibu and realized, you are still that person, Netta, get help. So we'll talk about that. Okay, so let me tell you a story really quick that I promised you. So when I was married to this guy, I ended up in his corrupted family because his family, for some reason, was also very, not gang members, but in that status where, you know, the cousins would beat up each other. Like, it was just like very aggressive people. They were Persian. Once again, not all Persians are aggressive. Just the ones I tend to surround myself with. So I got into another family that was just not good. Why couldn't I marry someone that was good? My God. So now I marry someone who's now teaching me other bad things. I'm not going to get into what other bad things, but let's just say that it wasn't good stuff that I learned. And I needed to get out of this marriage because this guy was unhealthy. But I do have to give this family some credit because I got involved with a business opportunity with this family, and that was a business where it was a pizza place. And because I was in gangs, I think it has something to do with being in gangs and just becoming like really, growing up really fast and corrupted mind, street smarts. That's it. That's what I had. I had a lot of street smarts. So I took my street smarts and put it into this business, and I built this pizza place because I always had like a marketing skill, my mouth, and just having street smarts. And then later on, I find out it's my energy. It's like if I'm with you, next to you, usually people say like they'll buy anything from me, or like I'm kind of a healer now in my life. And so anybody that hangs out with me always says they leave feeling good. So I was really good at being a con artist. Shame on me. So I get very involved with the family, so I meet his cousins. So what happens is did I tell this story?
The story?
Being kidnapped?
No.
Okay. So I get in, are you sure?
No, it didn't.
God, I hope I have not told this story.
No.
So remember that I'm now involved with this guy's family because my mother, when I was about 17, she decided she was married to another guy at that point. Not my stepdad, not my biological dad. This is the third, number 3. Number 3 and her go back to Iran with my brother because they want to try to live there for 1 year. You leave me? So now only family I have is the family I got married to. I don't want to be with this guy anymore, but I have to be here. So what am I supposed to do? So I started to drift away from him, but we were still together. Does that make sense? Like I didn't care anymore because he was a cheater. He was going to like strip clubs. I was a minor. I couldn't go to any of those places. So behind my back, he had a whole different life. So I was busy now running a business and basically trying to earn money to get the hell out of there. In the process, one of his cousins, who's dead now, thank God, falls in love with me. And he's probably like 30 years older than me. Can't remember, but he was kind of like a fatherly figure to me who helped me a lot. And we worked together a lot. So what happened was I end up leaving the guy I'm married to. He moves out on his own, and I end up staying with the cousin who helped me, thank God for her. And I am now kind of part of their family, trying to get out of their family. So this guy and I get close, but close not anything. Like I just saw him like a dad. So I decided I'm gonna move because I have a couple girlfriends who say to me, hey Netta, come live with us. So one of my childhood best friends actually invited me to go live with her, and she was living with someone else. So they gave me a place to stay for free. I didn't even have to pay rent. The only thing, I guess they just liked me and they said, just help around the house. And I didn't have a bedroom, so I just slept on their couch and I just kind of lived there. And I met a guy in the process. Oh my God, you guys, that's a story of its own. And I will tell you that story next time. He's from another country and he's a gang member who carries guns, who was just doing a lot of crazy things back in those days. He was part of a different country gang and from another country. I don't want to tell you what country. And he comes into my life in a really odd way, which I will tell you the story, but I have to think about it because he's still alive and I have to think about how I'm going to tell you the story and stuff. I have to talk to him about it because we do talk now, but we've had some things that we've had to, I'll talk about that part later, but I just want you guys to understand that I meet a guy and now this guy is going to help me get out of my situation. Well, I tell this fatherly figure that I work with at the pizza place about him. And I start seeing that he's not very happy about it. I didn't think he was jealous. I just thought protective. So this guy that liked me, I'll tell you the story of how I met him later. He used to be across the street in a payphone. He would call me from the payphone and look at the pizza place and it was romantic. And he would talk to me and I would say I can't talk because this guy, my fatherly figure doesn't want me to date you. So long story short, I start dating him seriously and this guy is not liking it. And remember, I live with my friend Cecilia and Dina. And this guy I met is trying to help me financially because he doesn't want me living with them. And then I have pizza guy who doesn't want me to have any of them. They're fighting over me behind my back. I don't even know what's going on. Plotting. So what happens is, and I'm going to finish it after the story, is I'm finally now free of the guy I got married to. My mom is in Iran. I have some money to myself. And I'm now trying to be a person in my life. The guy, the cousin that's 30 years older, that was my fatherly figure, said to me that he thought me living at the house that I was living in, the girls that I was living with, they were druggies. They were doing a lot of drugs and parties. The house I was living in was not the best house. I want to be honest about that. But I wasn't doing it. I was never doing drugs. There was a very short time in my life, and I do have to admit, it was in that house. So when this man was saying to me that they're turning you into a meth addict, in a way, I kind of believed him because I had never done cocaine and I'd never done meth until I was in that house. And man, it felt good. When you did that kind of stuff, it just took your mind off everything. And I was never a druggie. I never done marijuana. The only thing I did was drink and smoke cigarettes, as you guys all know that I did. I quit that when I was 23. So right now I don't do anything except marijuana. And that's just me being real. And it's legal. Okay, so, and it's medical marijuana, just to make sure that everybody knows it's medical marijuana. I need it. Okay, so it kind of made sense that he kept telling me that. Well, I'm starting to get hot because it's a bad memory. It's not the best memory. I try to laugh it out. So one day, remember, I'm not paying rent to this girls that I live with, and the least I can do is be her driver. So I was her driver. What I would do is I wasn't really her driver. I would drive her to work, drop her off, and then I'd have the car to myself the whole day until she was off, and then I'd pick her up. So I'd go to my pizza place, I'd do what I do, and then I would get in my car and then go see my boyfriend, things like that. Well, the pizza guy didn't like that. So one day he said to me, you know what? Where you're living is not good for you. You got to get out of that place. So I kept telling him, don't worry about it. Well, one day he followed me and he figured out my route. I did not know that this man was in love with me. You guys, there was no like phones like this. There were cameras and remember those rolls of film? He had thousands. Did I ever tell you that? He had thousands of me. Pictures of me in the pizza place, pictures of me in the cousin's house, like pictures of me everywhere. He was obsessed, which by the way, I had many of those in my life. I'll tell you stories about stalkers because those are scary and you really got to learn how to deal with people like that. So I'll help. I'm going to be there for you girls. So what happened was I get to the nursing home that my friend was like a head nurse in, and I parked her car, I waited inside, and she came out. So as I always do, I got out, and I was going to the other side to switch with her because she was going to drive her own car. And as I went to the other side, the guy drove up, and I was like, what are you doing here? I was like in shock. And he's like, oh, come here really quick. I got to talk to you. There's an emergency, the pizza place, blah, 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 blah. So I said, oh, Celia, he'll drop me off. I'm going to go see what's going on. So I take my bag and I get in his car. The minute I got in his car, he put his hands over my mouth and he shoved me back and he said, you're not going to talk. Don't say one word. I'm rescuing you. This is not me kidnapping you. You're never going back to that house again. And I was like, what are you, crazy? What's wrong with you? Like, what's going on? You guys, from that moment on, like right now, feel my fingers, Ulf. I swear. They're like, I don't even think you can feel it. Feel toes? Like they're all starting to get cold.
Like cold toes.
Cold. Starting to get cold. So you guys, that's how I felt. I'm an intuitive healer, so I feel energy through like warmth, cold feelings. Oh God, I'm starting to feel it. So I got so cold in the car. I just remember shivering. It was summer. And I was shivering. And I was thinking to myself, what is going on? Where is he taking me? What is he saying? Everything that was coming out of his mouth, I couldn't hear. I went into this whole different place in my body. I'm wondering if that was God. It was a really crazy feeling. I can experience it right now if I wanted to. It's tingling in your fingers, and my heart rate got up, and he started to confess his love for me, and that there was only one person in this world that loves me, it's him. And now I forgot to also mention to you that this man had worked on my mother, and my mother loved him because my mom was in Iran and he's my fatherly figure here taking care of me, the man I trusted. And my mom is like, loves him. In the meantime of all this happening, my mom had already moved back to America as I was living with my friend Cecilia. And so she was already back here in a place with her husband and my brother. And I didn't want to live with them. You guys know that. So he takes me and he kept me pretty calm. I was really scared. And he said, we're just going to go check into a hotel and I'm going to leave you. This is going to be your hotel room. So I was kind of like, okay. Like I trusted him. And then the confessing his love, the hand over the mouth, like I just kind of looked at all that as he cares, he loves, because that's all I knew. I knew abuse. And so we get to the hotel And that's where everything happened, you guys. I am not going to go into details because my daughter's friends follow my YouTube channel, and so does she. So I don't want to put like an X-rated, because the last time I did that to one of my videos, it kind of like people got lost in my story. So all I'm going to tell you is I was kidnapped. So a few times my mouth was wrapped until I promised him I wouldn't yell and scream, which I didn't. And he did things to me that was terrible. Let's just put it that way. Let's just say from 6 or 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. the next day, let's just not even talk about what happened during those times. Like the abuse, the sick stuff. I mean, just use your own imagination. So now it's 7 in the morning and I don't even know, like, how am I even supposed to walk out of this door? Like, things that happened in here are things that you can't even talk about outside. So like, how are you going to leave this place? And I knew he was going to get to my mom before me. And you all know that my mom doesn't believe anything I say. Oh, we need to talk to my mom about this. Okay, Olaf? We're going to interview my mom about this. So 7 in the morning comes. He gets me in the car. And he drops me off at Cecilia's house. Oh, I thought you didn't want me there. He was like, I said, take me to my mom. He's like, oh, no. I'm going to take you to Cecilia's house. You're going to go gather your stuff. You're going to get your stuff. Now, during this whole time, I just had no idea what was going on. Like, I didn't even know who I can tell because I'm like close to his family. I'm part of this pizza business. That's the only place I make money. So I can't really say anything. Somehow he got to my mom. I got home and, Cecilia and my friend Dina were there for me. Thank God they were there for me for a whole week. I mean, it took me a week to get over that. But I want you guys to know that same day, I wanted to drive over to my mom's house. I went there, cleaned myself off, changed my clothes, tell them what happened, and get her car and go to my mom's house to tell my mom. Guess who was there when I got there? He was inside my mom's house, sitting with her, eating. And he had a side business of handbags and belts. Back in the day, like, what was it? It was snake skin and like leather. And he pretended that he was going to go drop off these gifts to my mom because they had a good relationship. I walked in and I was just trying to feel out like what was going on. And I got that really ice cold feeling again. And I told him to get out of my house. I'm like, get out of here. My mom is like, why are you talking to him like that? I'm like, Mom, he kidnapped me. Mom, don't talk to him. And then my mom was like, don't talk like that. Don't do this. So who do you think left that house? Me. I turned around, left, went back to Cecilia's house, shut the world out, didn't go to work, didn't talk to anybody. It was a good 3 to 5 days. Just shut everybody out. And then I was able to go back to the pizza place and somehow figure out a way, because he was really scared. If I told one person that he kidnapped me, it would have been over for him. And he knew that he wasn't going to get any more from me. Like, that was it. He thought I would marry him. That was like the whole plan. So what do you guys think I did? Overnight, I packed all my stuff at Cecilia's house. This guy, my gangster boyfriend, comes with a truck and we take everything. I don't even say goodbye to my friend Cecilia. I disappear. I knew I had to disappear. That is one of the meanest things I've ever done to someone. Don't worry, I made it good because I've never done that to someone who's helped me my whole life. Actually, no one has ever helped me. I don't ask for help, so I've never been helped by anybody. But the fact that Cecilia helped me and that I left her house without even saying goodbye or thank you or anything, because I had to disappear. So I disappeared with this guy, and I moved in with, this new gangster boyfriend of mine, and he becomes my new everything. Mom, dad, friend, cousin, aunt, uncle, everything, because I had to walk away from everything and everyone. Businesses I built, walked away. But we're talking about Netta here, guys. Come on. I'm not supposed to have a good life. That's normal. So you become resilient, and then you go to the next thing. So that was traumatic. I'm going to end it there. So many more stories. Did I miss something up to now? Do you want to ask me any questions? Do it. I'll answer in the comments. And do you like when I come on live? I guess I'm going to end it with that now I'm going to be living with this guy, my new gangster boyfriend. So much is going to happen from that. My mom is back living about 10 minutes away from me. And I have completely left that first husband family now. Gone. We'll be back.